War in West Asia has completed a month, sending the world into an energy shock. Prices are soaring and the United States is threatening boots on ground. Soldiers from 82nd Marine Expeditionary Forces have been deployed in the Gulf. The question is, how long will this war last? On this issue, without wasting any more time, let me say that I am joined by noted author and former External Affairs Minister, Mr. MJ Akbar. Sir, thank you so much for joining us on News 9.
Thank you very much, Karthika.
Thank you. And let me begin this conversation by asking you, sir, in the name of regime change and human rights, United States of America has devastated a number of West Asian and North African states. Can Iran escape this fate?
Well, Iran is already facing a terrible devastation, which we've already seen in 4 weeks of war. That has been the one visible fact. What has come as a surprise, and I think President Trump said it in the very early days, he used the word surprise, but I think that surprise has turned to shock. What has come as a shock has been Iran's capacity and Iran's capability to respond. I think for the first time, at least in my memory, the cities of Israel are being hit, are being set on fire. This is happening in Tel Aviv, this is happening in Haifa, this is happening in Beersheba, and most important, this has happened in Dimona. Dimona is the most protected, the most secure city because Dimona is the home of Israel's nuclear capability as also its nuclear arsenal. And if Dimona cannot be protected by the famous THAAD missile, then we are seeing a paradigm shift in the nature of conflict as we have known in West Asia. The days of a one-sided conflict are over. As an Iranian leader said this afternoon, the world must accept a new regional order, and that I think is going to be one of the fundamental changes of the situation. You asked how long this war would last. A war lasts only as long as the war objective takes time to attain. And no war should be started without a very well defined objective. In fact, the problem with this war is that Israel and America began with an objective which was quickly proven to be a very futile chase. The objective regime change, as is said slightly mockingly, all you achieved was replacing Khamenei with Khamenei. The Islamic regime did not change. And in fact, there is an irony here that if the war drags on and if public opinion, because both Israel and America are very, very powerful democracies, there will be elections. And if the indications that are being given by opinion polls are proved valid, then there could be regime change in Tel Aviv and regime alteration in Washington before there is regime change in Tehran.
So,
So the unintended consequences of war should never be underestimated.
so, my question is, what is making Iran endure so much of pain? Is it civilizational? Is it religious? Is it the way Iran has been refashioned post 1979 Islamic revolution? What is making them take so much of it? Today, Pete Hegseth said that they have struck Iran 11,000 times.
Uh, the most powerful fact of Iran is its nationalism. Those who who thought that Iran's nationalism was synonymous with Iran's feudalism misunderstood the country. It is civilizational. Mustafa Khamenei is not, I think, an Ayatollah, which is the highest degree of clerics in the Shia hierarchy. But his first major speech to the nation was made when? Was made with Navroz. Now, Navroz is an ancient festival which represents the New Year, which is similar to Basant, which is similar to Ugadi. That is civilizational. And this civilizational, they get 10 days holiday over Navroz, which they celebrate as the New Year. This civilizational of power expressed through their literature, through their culture, is an extremely important element of the Irani sense of itself. But let me tell you one major difference between how Iranis see this war and how Americans and Israelis see this war. For America and Israel, this war is part of a continuing effort to get strategic security. And their definition of strategic security is, unfortunately, an expansionist view of security. The more space you have, the more secure you are. That is the rationale behind greater Israel. The Iranians see this as very different. They see this as an existentialist war. That if we are defeated, and if we succumb, and if we are not physically devastated, but if our nation, if we are devastated, then we will be wiped out from history for this century.
So, is it
And they know that if they want to be relevant to the future, to the immediate future, and to be a part of the security structure of both the region and thereby the world, then they must prove their capacity, and they have done so. People have never understood that Iran's technical capabilities arise out of a 4% of GDP. 4% of GDP is invested in R&D. They have 2,000 universities, which is actually more than the number of universities in India. And their universities, Tehran is a city with the largest number of PhDs. And mind you, these are not bogus PhDs, they're genuine PhDs. And this strength of the country is very evident. We are witnessing at the moment what I described, particularly from the American side, the fury of frustration.
like an exhausted superpower?
America, it's a superpower which is coming to terms with what is the unacceptable, coming to terms with the ability of a nation to stand up and said, we didn't ask for this war, but since you started it, it's not going to be
So,
easy for you.
so let me ask you, Trump was in his second tenure obsessed with China. Why did he get so engrossed with West Asia suddenly? And do you think that, Trump is chasing the Israeli red lines in Iran? Or in your opinion, are these really the American red lines?
Well, they at some point the two lines blur into each other, but certainly this one was influenced very much more by Israel's persistent view that Iran represented easy pickings. Maybe they were misled by the performance of Iran in the 2025 war, the 12-day war, when Iran missile capacity didn't quite reach Israel, didn't quite hit Israel. But the Iranians themselves, actually, they are actually quite transparent. They themselves said that we understood, we corrected ourselves, and we are now ready. Just as they say today, they are now ready for a ground invasion. And if there is a ground invasion, they are ready with a counter invasion. And that counter invasion will most probably, we can never be certain in war, but most probably that counter invasion will take place with an Iranian intrusion, ground intrusion into Dubai and into UAE and into Bahrain, because they treat countries which have American bases, because America operates against Iran from those bases. They treat them as hostile territory, not hostile nations, but hostile territory. And they've learnt the art of quid pro quo. You hit our infrastructure, we will hit your infrastructure. You hit Natanz, we will hit Damona. You enter on the ground level, we will hit you back on the ground level. That has been now the pattern of this conflict for 4 weeks.
So, in your opinion, why do these GCC countries continue to be so firmly aligned with the United States of America? Do you think this is more to do with Shia Sunni issue or pure American interests of the kingdoms they entertain?
I think they took a decision some time ago. I think this is all resonates with Camp David, which is a long while ago when Egypt took the decision and turned what would be called 180 degrees away from their anti-American stance. Since then, in a step-by-step development, the Gulf at least has convinced itself that the American security umbrella was invincible, that it was the ultimate security that could be provided, and they paid very, very serious money in order to get this umbrella. Today, they are realizing that the umbrella proved to be is was overpriced and underperforming. In fact, Israel is discovering that the great THAAD missiles could not protect Dimona, and they've ordered an inquiry. They are stunned too. So the Iranian capacity to create their series of missiles, which could penetrate and devastate Israeli cities and key Israeli points, if they hit desalination plants in Iran, they promised to hit them back. Every single American base has been hit in that region. American soldiers who were based in that, many American soldiers who were based there in that region are now living in hotels. In fact, the Iranians taunted them that now they would probably have to hit hotels. So this conflict has, as I said, changed the nature itself and changed the dimensions of the present and the future.
So Taliban used to say that the Americans have watches and we have time.
Yes.
From your perspective, sir, if there is ground invasion, if there are boots on the ground, will it be closer to what we saw in Afghanistan, Iraq, or Vietnam?
This is an amphibian invasion. This will be an invasion from the sea, right? And the record of amphibian invasions, whether you go to the Second World War, whether you go to the First World War, whether you go to any conflict, you
Churchillian
will see
mistake?
that the price. Sorry, you
Churchillian
will see
mistake?
that the
Churchillian mistake, do you think that the Trump can do the Churchillian mistake, Gallipoli sort of a thing?
oh, Gallipoli, absolutely, where Kemal Ataturk, defeated the British Empire and set back, and Churchill lost his job.
Yes.
So you will see that the cost, what is the price that the American public opinion is ready to pay for a conflict which it knew nothing about, for which it had not been prepared, and which at this moment it does not support. So, and I don't think the appetite, if if people believe that they are fighting a just war in the American interest, then their capacity to absorb losses, because losses represent sacrifice for the nation, which is the highest kind of sacrifice, then people show that. Americans will show that. But if they believe that the purpose of the war itself was flawed or was mistaken, then their capacity to pay the price diminishes. It goes down, and hence I think that must be of serious worry to the White House just now, because President Trump lives in a democracy.
So, how badly is American standing damaged in the global order? And secondly, what is your assessment of Trump's so close ideological alignment with Netanyahu? How do you place it? How do you put it in words? Why has that happened?
Well, the alignment with Israel,
Yes.
really, rather than a prime minister, has been very fundamental to President Trump's view of the world, and he has never hidden it, that Israel's interests are his interests. But every single president of America since the birth of Israel has supported Israel. But every single president of America has also weighed the genuine calculus of cause and effect. Will this war leave Israel more secure or less secure? In the last 3 years, on the day that Hamas terrorism hit Israel, the world was with Israel.
Yes.
But after Gaza, which was turned into rubble and 75,000 dead, after the present invasion of Lebanon, after the war on Iran, public opinion in Europe is not Shia or Sunni. Why is public opinion in Europe turned? Why is today Poland telling America that it cannot send weapons to West Asia. Why Spain's prime minister saying that this war is illegal and he won't allow American warplanes to use Spain as a base? Why does every single member of NATO, the fundamental American alliance after World War II, refuse to join this war? Because they know that there is something flawed in the objectives of this war. And I think this measures will hurt American interests and will certainly have long term implications for America's standing in the world. Uh, I don't think America as a superpower will disappear, but America's standing, as you say very correctly, in the world will not be the same as it was. America's positions will no longer be accepted by its allies as immediately or acceptable without question.
And lastly, sir, before I let go of you, who benefits more, the Russians or the Chinese?
Well, I mean, I think the Russians' leader, President Putin, uh, if he smiles at all in public, must be doing so because suddenly he's getting more money for less oil. Even if today the cost of his war with Ukraine remain punishing, but today suddenly, what has been the outcome of this war so far? Sanctions on Russian oil lifted, sanctions on Iran's oil lifted. What is America's
So the net outcome is
demand?
there was no tax if you pass through the Strait of Hormuz.
Yes,
Now you will have a tax. So this war
yeah,
has ended up creating a tax.
it's in fact enriching Iran. And I was just going to come to that. Today, Chinese technology, which we know is being used by Iran for its weaponry, will be in demand. One of the greatest losses that you will see, one of the greatest setbacks that you will see, is to the American arms industry. The American armed industry suddenly, the S-500s of Russia will find a bigger market. India's BrahMos missiles will find a bigger market. Chinese planes and missiles will find a bigger market because even the F-35s have proved to be vulnerable to Iranian missiles and drones. $25,000 drones against $3 million and $4 million interceptors. Where's the
Absolutely.
math? So I think the implications of this conflict will stretch far into not just this year, but far into the coming decade.
So thank you so much for making time for News 9. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.